We are back on the Rational Boomer podcast. Hopefully, your day is going well. It is Wednesday, already been one hell of a busy week. And we've got another podcast for you. And again, I'm down in Georgia, so my setup's much different than it is at home. Camera's a little winky, the audio's a little winky, but fuck it. We all got to tough it out here somehow. And we've got shit to talk about, so we're going to do it anyway. And I'm very fortunate to have a listener guest on the show today, Lisa. She's been on recently, and a lot of folks enjoyed that show, and she offered to come on. Dennis was going to come on with us, but he had some other priorities, family priorities that he had to deal with. So it's just Lisa and I, and that should be more than enough. When Lisa stops talking, you'll be hard pressed to get me to stop talking. So Lisa, welcome to the show again. I appreciate it.
Oh, thanks, Mike. Thanks for having me.
And Lisa's going to be very helpful here because, like I say, I'm in Georgia. My wife and I were shopping and doing all kinds of goofy shit. So it's harder for me to keep close track of what is going on. I did some TikToks in the morning, and I kind of caught up at that point. Then after that, I was a little lax. So, Lisa, I'm counting on you. It sounds like there was some more, other than the indictments yesterday or the day before. A lot of crazy shit is going on today as these rats are starting to spin in fucking circles now that they've been indicted.
Oh, yes. I mean, things are going crazy. The GOP, the MAGA Republicans are going out of their ever-loving minds. Ted Cruz posted the video saying he's pissed. How can they do this to President Trump?
Oh, no, Ted Cruz isn't pissed, is he? God, we should all
Oh,
run and hide. He's such a
I know
scary
that's what
man.
I sent him a letter on Threads. It said, "Dear Ted Cruz, does anybody care if you're pissed? I mean, you are a horrible person.
Yeah,
You
he is.
hated Trump when you were running against him, and now all of a sudden you're his best friend. What does he have on you?"
Well, one of the things I think the Republicans are concerned about is that Donald Trump is the key point in the Django pile. Once he comes tumbling down, everything comes tumbling down. And
Right.
this is going to reflect on and affect just about everybody in the Republican Party. I mean, they made him their Lord and Savior. So when he goes
Yeah.
down, a lot of shit is going to go down. Most of the people that are still standing by his side are now finally realizing, fuck, I waited too long. And that stink will
Yeah.
never get off of him. So they're nervous. They're nervous out, and they're
They're
going
very
to
nervous.
start talking a lot of shit.
Yeah. Let's see. Lindsey Graham has threatened all the Democrats. Oh, did you hear Trump's going to finally expose the Georgia fraud at Bedminster on Monday?
Yeah, you sent me an email, and I've been looking for that to see if there's any stories on it, and I haven't had much time to look for it. But you sent me a note saying that Donald Trump and Mike Lindell were going to have a press
Yes.
conference and expose all the corruption.
Yes, in the Georgia election. Alina Habba went on Fox News with Steve, what's his face? I don't even remember his last name. I don't watch Fox News. I just watched the video. She went on Fox News and said, because Steve asked her, okay, so how is Trump feeling about these indictments? Isn't he scared? And she said, oh no, we're not worried at all. And she gets a shit-eating grin on her face. She said, wait till Monday. We're going to expose the Georgia election fraud, and all these people will be exonerated.
Well, you know, it's funny. A lot of people who come out going against Donald Trump, having worked for him, they've told us the strategy. No matter how bad, no matter how dire it is, always act like you're in control. Always act like you're winning. Now, the term
that's kind of a mob thing too.
Right. Yeah, it is. And how often have we heard the term, "Oh, just you wait." 2 weeks from now, on Monday, on Tuesday, Mike Lindell himself, if Mike Lindell's involved in this,
he is.
It's fucking hilarious because he hasn't yet come up with a shred of evidence. Neither has Donald Trump. This is just it seems like Donald Trump just tries to put out this stuff in the ether to delay the inevitable. I don't know what it
Yeah.
is. I mean, if you can't fix it, Fonnie Willis has been investigating this thing for 2.5 years. If there
Yeah.
was something to go against her, she would
Yeah.
have found it by now and she wouldn't have brought charges. So,
Right. Exactly.
I take what Donald Trump says as a bunch of shit, but I'm gonna be there Monday and watch him and then laugh at that motherfucker when he comes up with nothing.
Exactly. Brian Kemp, the governor, uh, saw his post, reposted it with a very stern uh, remark about no, the Georgia elections were not fraudulent. We have safe and secure elections in Georgia, and you are spreading lies. He
Right.
was not happy about it. And
Well,
he said, we need to start focusing on 2024 and get this all behind us.
absolutely. And remember, the governor's a Republican. Brad Raffensperger is a conservative Republican. It's not like the
Hmm.
Democrats have said that there was no election fraud. It's his own people. And
Right.
I'm thinking that these kinds of claims and these kinds of conspiracy theories that he keeps getting thrown out are going to cause him problems ultimately. I think he's stepping on Judge Chutkan's toes because there is some
Hmm.
overlap in these two cases, and I think when he gets
Hmm.
a judge in Georgia, she's going to slap that motherfucker down with some gag order or something because it's much
I think
tougher in
he's going to
Georgia.
be remanded. I really do, because everybody, all these, John Dean, um, Weissman, several ex-prosecutors, Glenn Kushner, they're all saying that there's no way this judge in Georgia can let him go
Right.
with all the direct threats to witnesses, the
Well,
judges, the prosecutors.
and I heard one of them say that it's a different situation than with the federal government. The federal government or the federal judicial system says, you go out there and you better not do that. We're only going to give
Right.
you 100 chances. And
Yeah.
in this situation, he's got to go into court and convince them that he's not going to do this shit.
Correct. That the
And,
burden is on him.
right.
Yeah.
And how is he going to do that when he's been doing nothing but that for the last year?
Right.
Yeah, it's
Right.
he's in trouble, and it'll be interesting to see if the judge remands him to prison or jail. So one of the people that comments on my TikToks came in, and I thought it was funny. He says he says that Fulton County Jail is a nasty place. I know
Oh
because I've
no.
been there.
Oh no. Well, good. The nastier, the better.
Yeah. Well, you started talking about some other things with some of these other rats that are caught up in this indictment.
Mark Meadows. Mark
Yeah.
Meadows has filed a motion. I mean, it has an, I almost forgot. You have to rein me in because my train of thoughts get wild sometimes. But
That's all right. So does mine.
Jenna Ellis is grifting on Threads.
Really? What's she doing?
Please donate to my legal defense for Georgia indictment.
Oh, fuck Jenna Ellis.
I wouldn't give her a wooden nickel.
Well, see that.
She blocked me on Twitter because she kept posting these BS posts about Trump and how Biden's so awful. So I kept going back at her and I said, look, you need to take care of yourself because they're coming after you. You're
Right.
going to be disbarred. And then, so about the third time I said that, she blocked me. But yeah, she went and hid in her mother's basement so they couldn't serve her.
Oh,
Can you believe that?
well, I love that when these people try to duck the server, like that's going to stop it. I was never served, so I'm innocent. That doesn't work
And
that
she's
way.
a lawyer and should know better. And Kathy Latham can't be found either.
Kathy Latham.
I think, yeah, the Republican, the lady in charge of the elections in Georgia, she was
Oh, really?
indicted too, but nobody has seen her.
Wow.
Nobody can find her. Nobody knows where she is. They think she left the country.
Well, I think that it's pretty commonly understood that these 19 people that were indicted or indicted in this whole thing, a lot of them probably won't end up going to trial because they're going to force them into
They'll plead
flipping
out.
on the big guys. Yeah, I think
Hmm.
that's probably going to happen. But you're going
Yeah.
to see the rats just jumping ship.
Yeah.
Like I've said so many times, it's not going to be about Donald Trump anymore. It'll be about saving their own asses. And that will just
Oh,
create
exactly.
chaos.
Yeah. There's so many, somebody posted on Threads, I reposted it on my page, the list of uh the majority of the 30 unindicted co-conspirators.
Right.
They had a list, and Lindsey Graham wasn't on it yet, but there was like 15 people missing that weren't on there. So
Oh,
I
okay.
don't know the rest of the people. I didn't recognize any of the names that were not, that were not unindicted.
Well, I don't have any facts or verification that Lindsey Graham flipped, but I can only imagine that is the reason why he's not on the indictment list.
It
I mean,
has to be the only reason, Mike, because he was right in there in the thick of it. How
yeah,
could Mark Meadows and the other people get indicted when he was just as guilty?
he
I
made
don't
two
get.
calls to Brad Raffensperger and he was trying to
And the
coerce
Secretary of
Raffensperger
State.
into doing something. And the fact is he's a South Carolina senator. He has no business
Exactly.
in Georgia. And he said, well, this was part of my job as a senator. Bullshit. We've all figured out that that's not the case. He should have
Hmm.
gotten an indictment. So he had to give something in order not to get indicted.
Yeah, yeah. He had to have flipped because he was just as guilty as the rest of them.
Yeah.
I don't get, and I think you're right. You said something the other day about, the rest of Congress, Marjorie Taylor Greene and Ted Cruz and Jim Jordan and all the ones that, Scott Perry, whoever else was involved in all that garbage at Jam 6. They need to all be charged. What do you
Right.
think? When do you think this is going to be another superseding indictment?
I don't, I answered this. I was talking about this on TikTok earlier today. A lot of people came to me and said, what about the members of Congress? What about this person? What about that
Hmm.
person? I don't think the members of Congress really played a part in this Georgia role. It was all
No.
strictly Georgia.
Yeah.
I think that when it comes to sitting members of Congress, it'll come in the superseding indictments from Jack Smith. We know for a fact that Jack Smith hired a lawyer or two to specifically look into members of Congress. So I think
Right.
that's yet to come with Jack Smith. We were on a watch for Fonnie Willis, and now we can go back on a watch for Jack Smith because he's going to come with more shit, probably more shit in the classified documents case too.
Well, he did. He filed two motions in the last couple days. I don't know if you saw them.
I didn't.
He was spanking Trump for wanting a skiff built at Mar-a-Lago again. I mean, it was a scathing motion. I mean, I was just laughing. It was so funny, about how these crimes were committed at Mar-a-Lago, and you want to put the skiff back there? I don't think so. And we're
Yeah.
not paying for it.
That's kind of like a guy robbing a bank
Yeah.
and then telling the judge, listen, put that money back in my apartment so I can count it. And I'll get it right back to you, no problem. I mean, the
Right.
fact is, Donald Trump has gone on and said, those are my documents. I want them back. Why would a judge given them
Absolutely.
back to him? That's fucking ridiculous.
I know. I know. And he filed another motion, Trump did, saying that he does not he wants to be able, he told Chutkin, he wants to be able to make every piece of evidence public,
Yeah.
because it's it's his right to have people know what is being said against him.
Yeah. Well, he says that because he thinks that's going to give him leverage. Oh, no, he wants it all revealed. We can't reveal it all. So we'll just bend to Donald Trump. None of that is
Mm.
going to work. I mean, Judge
I hope
Chutkan
not.
isn't Eileen Cannon. She's very
Yeah,
smart, she's very direct, and she ain't fucking around. And I'm willing to bet that at some time in the near future, she's gonna call him back and give him a little paddling on his diapered butt because of the shit he's been saying, because he specifically said things that she told him not to say.
exactly. And I can't believe I figured, honestly thought after what this weekend brought and yesterday, I figured for sure she would have called him in today, but she did not.
Yeah, no, she didn't, and I'm not sure what the plan is. It's still early in the week. You brought up something earlier and we didn't go into it, but a concern you had about Mark Meadows. Why don't you tell me about that?
Well, my deal is Mark Meadows is now filed a motion to move his case into federal court so he can have it dismissed because he was a federal officer. So now they're all thinking about doing that. He started this in motion and now they're all trying to do it.
They're
But
all they're all trying
the
to do it.
attorneys that
It-
like, yeah.
It's a desperation move. I mean, it's not going to work. Like I told you before we went on, Donald Trump has tried that twice. Tried to turn
Mm-hmm.
his New York case into a federal case, trying to do this and that.
Mm-hmm.
It's not going to happen. These courts aren't going to give away jurisdiction to the feds. There's no way that's going to happen. And I'd be surprised if the feds even want to take it on. This is
Yeah,
just
that's true.
this is just bullshit talk that they do to try to create confusion. But right now it's a little different. They're going to get away with the confusion because they're just desperate now. They'll fucking say anything to
Mhm.
give them a little extra time. The walls are
Right,
closing in and there's really no stopping them at this point.
right. I mean, things are only going to get worse. They have, what is it, 10 days? The 25th is 10 days from now.
Yeah, a week from Friday, week from this Friday,
Yeah.
they have to turn themselves in. And you know, it's funny when you hear from the sheriff's department, they aren't too sympathetic.
No.
They said you're going to get mugshot, you're going to get printed,
And
you
you're going to
might
be
get
in
purple.
handcuffs.
You're going to be in
Yeah.
handcuffs. And Donald
Yeah.
Trump is going to be losing his shit because
Hmm.
somebody doesn't give him deference because of his position. I mean, I think
Yeah.
that's what the people like Mark Meadows and all the other people involved, including Donald Trump, they're so used to being pampered and given
Right.
accommodations. They ain't getting that anymore because they aren't
Right.
anybody anymore. They're private
Right.
citizens who broke the law. And I think Judge Chutkan said that when you're in this
Hmm.
courtroom, you're simply a defendant. You're not a former president, a presidential candidate. You're the fucking defendant. And this takes priority over everything. And I'll guarantee you that's what we see down in Georgia too.
Yeah, exactly. I know Bonnie Willis said last night she wants a trial in 6 months,
Right.
but now all her fellow prosecutors are coming on saying, excuse me, that's going to be impossible. But maybe not, because like you said, if these people start flipping or doing plea deals, they won't go to trial.
Yeah, a lot of, that was the two interesting things when Fonnie Willis was talking that I heard was that she will try the case with all the defendants at once. The case will be
Yeah,
Donald Trump, Mark Meadows, whoever else. They'll all be there at once. And and in addition to that, what I thought was interesting, the RICO charge has a 5-year minimum, and the others have 1 and 2 year minimums, but they are mandatory sentences. So if you get
right. There's
convicted,
no probation in this case.
now you get convicted in this case in Georgia, you're going to fucking jail. It doesn't matter if you're
Yeah.
Mark Meadows, Donald Trump, or whoever, you're going to fucking jail.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah,
so
that's right. I mean, she made it very clear when that lady asked her, this is not a probation case.
not at all, not at all. It's interesting. We presume that Mark Meadows flipped in the federal case against Donald Trump because we haven't heard his name. He hasn't shown up on the indictments. But then all of a sudden he shows up on this Georgia indictment.
Yeah.
And clearly
I
he
was
didn't have,
surprised.
I was a little surprised too. I figured if he cut a deal with the feds, he'd cut a deal
Mhm.
Georgia maybe making a 2-for-1 deal to make sure he's covered. But either his lawyer
Right.
fucked up or Fonnie said, nah, I'm not interested.
Ooh, maybe. Yeah,
I mean,
I wouldn't doubt that.
he's kind of a linchpin in this thing. He didn't make the
He is.
calls, but he showed up in Georgia.
Right. And asking them if President Trump could have a little chat with him. Yeah, yeah.
Right.
No, he was totally in the wrong. Um, but the thing of it is that they made this plan, and this Misty Hampton and Kathy Latham sent text messages and emails to Trump, Sidney Powell, Mark Meadows, Giuliani, and invited them to Coffee County
Right.
to inspect the voting machines. And they stole data
Right.
off those machines.
Well, like I've said, just that incident with the voting machines connected to Giuliani and Sidney Powell and ultimately Donald Trump, because they had the meeting on December 18th or something, talking about this
Right,
very thing. That
right.
one deal is enough to take them all fucking down. You don't
Yeah,
have to commit any other crimes than that. That's as bad as it gets.
yeah, yeah, yeah. That's what everybody's saying is the fact that the reason this is not a probation case is that because the crimes were so serious, they were against the American people, they were against the state of Georgia, the voters in Georgia, the American people. I mean, this affected the whole country basically. They could have, if they had been able to disseminate that data.
Well, and they would have had a better shot at it had Brad Raffensperger not been so honest and the governor not being so honest. As much as they're Republicans, they didn't want that mess in their state.
No,
I mean, I'm sure they
no,
felt strongly about America, but at the same time, they didn't want to be appear as though they are being used and abused by serial abuser and user Donald Trump. Because when it
right.
was all said and done, they all knew that this was going to come out and they didn't want to be complicit with it. They knew, even if they wanted Donald Trump to win, they weren't going to jump on board this. Nobody in their right mind would, because it would
No,
come back to
because their
haunt them.
careers would right. Their careers would have been over. I mean, they would have ended up in jail. They were very smart in taking the high road. Yeah, yeah, for sure.
Yeah, it's interesting that Mark Meadows thinks he's got some power or some leverage. Mark Meadows has no fucking leverage. He's got nothing to
No.
trade other than flipping
Mm-mm.
on Donald Trump. And apparently,
Hmm.
either Fonnie Willis didn't want any part of that, doesn't need any part of it. I don't know.
Well, what information would he really have to offer her that she didn't already have on the both of them?
Well, that's true. And I think I think that's the case with Jack Smith and Fonnie Willis. They have done such a deep dive in their investigation, and they've had enough people come forward as witnesses that they don't need anybody to flip anymore.
No, no, they don't.
And these people that are standing by Donald Trump or have been up to this point, they're realizing they don't have the ace up their sleeve like they thought. Well, at least I can flip
Right.
on Donald Trump. Fonnie Willis says, nah, I don't fucking need you. You're
Yeah.
going down. You're a criminal.
That makes a lot of sense. It really does, because I imagine that she had all the information she needed about Mark Meadows and Trump and the whole situation before I mean, I don't think he would have any new information for her.
Well,
So,
with
you know,
somebody like Mark Meadows, you've got all these. Well, put it this way: you had 8 electors in Georgia that have given immunity, and you've got all the other state level people who want to get out from underneath an indictment. They're not only going to flip on Donald Trump, they're going to flip on Meadows and Rudy Giuliani,
mm-hmm.
and the others. There's a lot of them. They're all the big names on there. I don't think they're going to have a option to flip on anybody. They're going to have to
No,
take their fucking medicine.
hmm, I agree. There's not that much information out there at this point that she doesn't already know after 2.5 years. I mean, she's still getting, she just got those new texts and emails. I can't remember what they were again. Um, she got those on Sunday, so she's still getting evidence.
Oh, yeah, no question. You know what was the most ominous thing to me, if I was Donald Trump or Mark Meadows or any of them? When she gave her presentation after the indictments came out,
Mm,
she was on stage and there were two guys, one on either side of them.
mm-hmm.
They all had some knowing smirks. They weren't
Mm-hmm.
nervous at all. They knew what was up and they
No,
felt
you
good
noticed
about it.
that? A lot of
Yeah,
people noticed that, and she had a little smirk too.
yeah,
She
yeah, she
did.
did.
She was quite proud of herself, and she said, "I'm going home and going to bed. I'm tired."
Well, you know, the thing with Bonnie Willis is that uh, this this is a big moment in the history of this country. It's also a big moment for her.
Oh,
She's
absolutely.
she's the first person to indict a former president and some of his
Mm-hmm.
minions. Uh, the fact that she did that, she's got a feather in her cap. But if she wins this shit,
Oh yeah.
she doesn't have to worry about working for Fulton County. She could work fucking
No,
anywhere.
no, she can retire. Oh yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah, that will be pretty amazing.
yeah, now, when you heard about this Mark Meadows thing, well, I'm going to get it switched to a federal court. Yeah, sure you are, motherfucker. Was the media talking about it like, oh my God, don't let that happen. It could be
Yeah, yeah.
precarious now because he's gonna do that. And that's what the
CNN,
media
yeah.
does.
Yeah, CNN's like, ooh, I don't trust CNN anymore because that's like MSNBC. They put out some videos and some shows that are totally not bipartisan at all.
No, I know.
So I don't trust them anymore. So I really rarely go to CNN for things because I don't trust them. So, but yeah, they put this out first and they were freaking out thinking, okay, if he can do that, why can't Trump do it? Is
Yeah,
Trump going to do it too?
Trump's already tried it. It didn't
Yeah,
work.
yeah,
It didn't work. Trump hasn't tried it in this jurisdiction, but I have a feeling that when you're dealing with a state jurisdiction, they're pretty locked into what they're doing, and the last thing they're going to do is give it to the federal courts. And whether his request has any standing or not, I doubt it. Most of the times, whenever we see these things spewed out by Donald Trump or any other ones, it's like they pulled this out of their ass and they're
yeah,
making this shit up and they don't really have any chance at all. That's why, like, when I watch MSNBC, I don't even listen to MSNBC host as much, but like Andrew Weissman, Glenn
right.
Kirchner, they're the
Yeah,
motherfuckers that know what's going on. If they tell me something, whether I
absolutely.
see them on TikTok or whatever, I'll believe that shit. They know.
Yeah, I follow Glenn on Patreon and YouTube and TikTok, but I trust him. He's an federal prosecutor, and he always has good information. So, um, yeah, he's one too saying, "Oh, I don't know if he can, prosecute 19 people at once," and he said that too because he said too many. When you got, it's going to be bad enough with Trump and the two other guys in the documents case, because then you got all these lawyers for all three of them
Yeah.
making motions and objections and blah 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 blah. And so the trial is going to take forever. Now, if that's with three people, imagine with 19
Well, yeah,
all together.
as I've said, the likelihood that she'll be trying 19 people is pretty slim. There's going to
That's
be a
true.
bunch of them that plead out and will testify against the others. So maybe we're
Yeah.
not looking at 19, maybe we're looking at 10 or 8 or whatever it is. I don't know what it's
Hmm.
going to be. It's still going to be a mess. But what I think is going to be interesting about it is that as much as Donald Trump does not want to go to trial, certainly doesn't want to go to prison, how is he going to feel when he's not necessarily the focal point in the trial? He's not going to like that too
Exactly.
much. He's going to want
No,
all the
because
attention.
oh, absolutely. He is not going to be happy at all being with 18 other people, because he isn't going to be the main focus. But I guess somebody said something this morning about how they're listed on the indictment
Right.
is how they get tried.
Oh, okay.
In the order. So his name is first, so he has to go first.
Right. Right.
I don't know how true that is. I'd never heard of that.
Well, that makes some sense. And I think Fonnie Willis' main goal is here to get Donald Trump, maybe Rudy Giuliani, maybe Mark Meadows, maybe a couple of the others. I think that's really her focus. Another thing is if they try them all together, it's going to be hard to give everyone, if they want, if a court wants to give special privileges to Donald Trump and they're all being tried together, then they have to give it to all of them. So maybe Fonnie is looking at this as it's going to be tougher. Everybody will be on the par with everybody else because, they're all defendants. Maybe that will make it tougher for anybody trying to make special cases for themselves. I don't know. I'm not a lawyer. I'm not a judge, so I don't know. But when you have that many people in there, maybe it's going to cause enough confusion and create some parity amongst the defendants.
Yeah, I think so. Because that's a lot. I mean, even with 3 people, I could see it being problematic. But at 10 people, even at 10 people or 5 or 6 people, you've got, and these people don't have more than one lawyer. So you've got 19 defendants and probably 36 lawyers and
Right.
all in the same courtroom.
But
Oh,
when you're talking about the media, I want people to understand something. When you start hearing this BS and this is dangerous and this could sink the whole prosecution and stuff like that, mostly it's not partisan. It's not necessarily partisan, like they want the Republicans win or they want the Democrats to win. This is show business. This is about creating the hype for the show or the main event. They don't want it to look like a wipeout for either side. They want it a battle because that's going to get more attention. It's like a boxing promoter. One guy could be the worst guy in the world, but they'll say, yeah, but he's got real strong legs. And he had a good fight against this guy, even though he lost. That's what they're doing with this, and that's what they will do. And hopefully Fonnie Willis and Jack Smith, and I think they will cut through all that shit. You can say whatever you want, but we're still taking your ass down. And I think that's what's going to happen.
Good. I hope so. I really, really do. And I think Jack Smith is just, I think he's just scratched the surface on all these indictments he's going to come out with. I mean, there has to be a lot more. I feel like the fake electors that were indicted, I think the odds of them pleading out are pretty good. And there was 9 of them.
I think so too, because, we're just talking about regular Joes and regular Janes. They aren't necessarily hugely wealthy. They aren't popular. They don't have a lot of power. They're just people. And it's funny how now they're talking about, oh, we were duped. We were misled. That's bullshit. We've seen them on TV being interviewed prior to and afterwards. They had the smirk in their eye like we did something big and we are heroes for it. But what they found out is they were duped. They were lied to. And unfortunately, just because you're lied to doesn't make you innocent. You're still fucking guilty.
Right. And that's where Trump's attorneys are also. That's a defense they're working on, saying that, oh, well, he was ill-advised by his attorneys. It's all the attorney's fault. Yeah, that's what they're saying. That they're going to use that as a defense.
What's that old phrase? Ignorance isn't an excuse for the law.
Nope.
It's not an excuse.
Nope.
You were the president of the United States. If you didn't know, or if you didn't have good advisors, well, then who the fuck does?
Right. Well, here's the problem. His White House advisors were telling him, his White House lawyers were telling him, you lost the election.
Yeah.
But no, he didn't want to accept that. So he sought out and brought into his inner circle people who gave him what he wanted to hear.
Right, exactly. And if he didn't get what he wanted to hear, he'd just do what he wanted anyway. I mean,
Exactly.
we're going to talk about it more in the second half, and we're going to take a break here in a minute. But um, this whole thing about Donald Trump continuing to rant on about his court cases with Judge Chutkin and now in Georgia and Fani Willis, um, his lawyers have much as said is we can't stop him. He's going to do what
Hmm.
he does until Judge Chutkin does something or another judge does something to hold him accountable. He's not going to stop. And even then, he still may not stop.
Oh
So
no, he won't. Remember when Takapina was in court and trying to, he said, Judge, you know what I have to deal with.
yeah, no shit. No
I
shit.
mean, he wasn't lying.
No,
That
he
was
does.
probably the only truth he's ever told, but
Yeah, that's probably right. Well, Lisa, we're going to take a quick break and we'll be right back.
okay.
We are back on the Rational Boomer podcast. I'm in Georgia. I'm dealing with a little uh, less technical capabilities than I do when I'm at home, but nonetheless, we are here and we are going to talk about it. And I have the good fortune of having listener Lisa on the show today, which I can't tell you how much I appreciate it. It's tough enough doing the show alone, but when I'm away from home and expected to do other things other than look at news all day by orders of my wife, it's a little hard to
Hmm.
keep up. I mean, the TikToks I did, I told my wife while she was taking a shower and getting ready, I said, I'm going down to the pier and I'm going to do some TikToks. And I sat there and I did 5 TikToks in a row. And then after that, I didn't do much. But
Yeah, I haven't seen you for the rest of the day, so.
no, no. And that's usually different. Normally I'll be popping up all the time. Uh, but I wanted to talk about this thing that you mentioned because I find it intriguing and a little hilarious. The idea that Donald Trump and Mike Lindell will have a big press conference on uh, on Monday to finally to release all the corruption and all the dirt in the Georgia uh, election stuff. You know, it's interesting. It seems like every time they have a problem, oh, we're going to release the information. When it was election fraud on a national level, they were going to release the information. Mike Lindell didn't. Now he's going broke because he's a fucking lying, stupid motherfucker. Then it was Hunter Biden. Oh, we've got the information. He's
Hmm.
connected to Joe Biden. We're going to show it to you. Just you wait. Nothing ever happened. And that's what's going to happen here on Monday. This is just a bullying tactic. You know, a bully will try to make you afraid so that you
Hmm.
back down. And
Right.
if you don't back down on the first thing they say, they'll make it stronger. And then they'll make it
Hmm.
stronger. But ultimately, if people don't back down, they fucking fail. And
Right.
they end up being the cowards who run away. So I expect that to be the case on Monday.
I'm just curious about what in the world they're going to come up with. I mean, uh, is it going to be more lies or is it going to be something that could be possible?
Well, the question I would have for Donald Trump and Mike Lindell is this. Neither one of these two live in Georgia. Neither
Mm-mm,
one of them are officials in Georgia. So
mm-mm.
how would they have gotten the inside information on Georgia and the election fraud unless they were the ones committing the fucking fraud? I mean,
Exactly.
it's just a bullshit argument. It's not going to work.
Yeah. Yeah. I don't see. I tried this morning, this afternoon. I was on Threads most of the day and been between YouTube and Threads. And I can't even fathom. I tried what they could possibly try to come up with. I I mean, Lindell is selling all his equipment and is losing money left and right because of this craziness, and he has no evidence. I don't know if he's getting money from Trump now.
Well, no, because I think Donald Trump's running out of money too. When I look at them, it reminds me of a period in my life when I didn't have a lot of money and the prospects weren't good. I was young and I was
Hmm.
scared because I had a lot of bills. I didn't have the money. I didn't know where the money was going to come from. And I said something to, I can't remember who I was talking to, because I was kind of taking some chances and taking some risks. And and they said, "What are you doing?" I said, "When you've got nothing to lose, you can afford to be
Hmm.
crazy. You almost have to be
Exactly.
crazy. You got to do crazy shit and hope something works." And that's
Right.
what they're doing here. Unfortunately, neither one of these two are very adept at making things work. They fail constantly.
Oh yeah. Everything and everybody Donald touches fails miserably.
Right.
So, you know,
Well,
I don't see, this is a distraction to me. This is just another distraction
oh, of
and bully
course.
tactic because he wants to try to scare her. I mean,
I don't think he's going
putting
to.
out, no, I mean, after putting out, I, her little smirk on her face yesterday was just precious.
Yeah.
I mean, it was, you could tell she was very proud of herself.
And she
And
should be.
and she should be. Yes, she's done a lot of hard work. And but she's not afraid of him,
No.
not even a little. And I think after saying that she slept with a gang member, I mean, how much more can he do to her?
Well,
Really?
and when he said that about her, she didn't even flinch. She said, "Come up with some
Nah.
proof, or I'll just put it on the pile with the rest of the fucking charges." That's why I
Yeah.
wondered.
Wait. Why? I don't see any charges on there for those things.
No, I don't either. And here's what I wondered. If there can be superseding charges in Jack Smith's case, why would there be superseding
Mm.
charges in Fonnie Willis's case? I mean, when it came out, they said there was 10 indictments. Now, not all of them necessarily had to be with regards to Donald Trump, but
They weren't. These were the cases that the grand jury heard for the day.
okay. But that doesn't suggest there can't be some superseding stuff. I mean, she might be
No.
talking to some of these people saying, "You're going to get indicted if you don't flip." And if they don't flip,
Well,
maybe she indicts them then.
exactly, because she has 30 unindicted co-conspirators,
Right.
conspirators. So obviously she's not done yet because
I don't think
if
she
they're
is.
she wouldn't have mentioned them. There wouldn't have been 30 unindicted co-conspirators listed in this indictment if she was done.
And an unindicted co-conspirator doesn't suggest they can't be indicted. It's just that they
Right.
haven't yet been indicted.
Right. Yes. Yeah.
I mean, that was the case in the Jack Smith situation. They had the six unindicted at that point
Right.
co-conspirators. But you
Hmm.
know those six are going to get
Yeah,
fucking
yeah, we
indicted.
know the six. Yeah. Yeah. Oh, yeah, they will. He's just not done yet.
No,
That's the
no.
thing. And that's, you're right. You're absolutely right. There will be superseding indictments because of those 30 unindicted people. She has to get them indicted.
Right, right. She needs to start it off and kick it off and set the tone, which she has. But the thing about it is, even though it's one state, all that went on with the fake electors, the intimidation and the coercion that went in with Brad Raffensperger and some of the other people, the pushing the legislature. There's a lot of people involved in this shit
Yeah.
in Georgia. And granted,
Oh
I
my
know there's
gosh, yes.
19 in the indictment, but I have a feeling there's some outliers too. Like you said, the 30
Hmm.
unindicted that could be
Yeah,
just as culpable.
right, right. I think because I'm kind of thinking Lindsay's on there. I
Yeah,
don't know if Lindsay actually has the balls to flip.
uh,
I just don't.
a lot of people say that, but the thing about it is, it's one thing to say you're going to flip on Donald Trump. No, I'll never flip on Donald Trump. But when you're at the cell door and you're going to be put in there essentially the rest of your life, because he's not a young man, it's amazing
No,
what people do. Like they say, desperate times call for desperate measures.
desperate measures. Yeah, exactly. You know, they
People,
were saying today that Donald Trump has over 90 something charges
right,
in 4 indictments. He's got, if he's convicted of every charge, he will get 754 years.
right, right. Well, and I'm still getting people coming to me, and a lady just asked me today, she said, is it true that Donald Trump could get elected as president uh, if he was in jail? And I guess theoretically that's true. I mean, there's nothing in the Constitution that suggests somebody who's indicted
Incorrect.
does,
Incorrect. 14th
please
Amendment,
educate me.
Article 3, 14th Amendment. If a official or anybody participates in an insurrection or anything against the government, they
Right.
are banned from running from office.
That's true. And what's happening in Georgia would impact that amendment.
That's right.
But I guess, you know, the media will say this. Let's say it's an indictment and it's a conviction of something other than what we're talking about. Could he still run for reelection? Could he still be elected president? The important point of this is what I tell people. I say, I don't even know why we're talking about this. There is zero chance that Donald Trump will get elected president. I've said this 100
No.
times. He lost by 7 million votes in 2020. He has done nothing to gain votes or support. He's done nothing but lost support and votes. The best he could hope for is losing by 10 million votes in
Yeah.
2024. That question is never going to have to be answered because he will not get elected. I feel absolutely confident about that.
Yeah, I agree with you. But it's kind of getting a little scary. There's a lot of mega Republicans that still support him that say if he's, no matter how many indictments, if he's in jail, I will vote for him. And I think I'm worried, like I told you before, that to make it something spectacular or crazy, people will just vote for him if he goes to prison just to have a president in prison. You
Yeah,
see what I'm saying?
yeah,
I'm worried about that.
I don't think there's enough of them to do that. There are some that will. Let me tell you this, Lisa. How long you been watching me on TikTok?
Over a year.
Okay, and I've been there 2, 3 years actually in TikTok. And over that time, I've dealt with literally thousands of people that are worried
Hmm.
that this is going to happen or that's not going to happen or this could happen. And every time I've said, don't worry about it because it's not
Yeah.
going to happen. It's all bullshit. And here we are 2, 3 years later. And I was right. It's not because I'm a genius. It's just because instead of looking at this emotionally, I'm looking at the logical and the factual
Yeah,
part of this.
exactly.
And
Yeah.
that's what you got to do. You can't let the media get your emotions running high. I mean, that's what bullies do. They say, I'm going to kick your
Hmm.
ass. And if you think he might, then you're scared and you will bend. I've dealt with enough bullies in my life from my father on down. I'm not scared of these motherfuckers, to take
No, I'm
Bernie
not
Mac's
either.
phrase, because
No.
they're weak and they're
Yeah.
bullshit. And anything they claim and threaten hasn't worked up to this point. It's not going to work anymore.
Well, the sad thing is, I told you before that my life was threatened on TikTok several times by MAGA Republicans, and they see me as a disabled woman.
Oh,
What they
really?
don't realize is that I practice my Second Amendment rights, and my dad was a police officer and taught me to shoot when I was 6 years old. So I don't miss.
You know, what's interesting is I've heard people say that I've gotten death threats and whatever. Um, I have never gotten a death threat, and I talk some
You're
shit.
lucky. I know
Yeah,
you do.
I talk some shit, but I block all Trump-a-fucks that come through, and I'm not afraid of them. I think because they're cowards, their perception is that it would be easier to bully somebody like you than somebody like me. They don't like somebody
Exactly.
they don't like somebody like me who's not afraid of them, or at least gives that perception.
Hmm.
Um, so I'm not sure why they haven't done it. I block most of them because I don't want to deal with it. I know my wife will read some comments, and I'm pretty lucky. I don't get many negative comments on TikTok because I block them
You're
all.
lucky. Yeah. I
But
don't either anymore that I blocked Mega. I mean, I I got pretty stringent on just if you sound remotely Mega or hateful, block. I'm just not going to deal with you.
yeah,
Um, I do. My dog does Emma's jokes of the day on there. That's all I do anymore. I just don't post videos there anymore. I post them on Threads, and but yeah, I just got tired of all the hate and the Mega and TikTok. You said you tried to do a live and they shut you down, and I get tired of that. And TikTok is so Trump. I mean, it's a China-based company. They love Trump, and they will let Mega do threats and post awful things, say awful things.
let, let,
Um,
let me correct you on something here. And this is something I've talked about before. You got to understand how TikTok works. It's a lot like eBay, and I'll explain that.
okay,
Um, TikTok isn't taking you down because you're liberal or because you're talking against Donald Trump. TikTok doesn't care. They don't address anything until it's brought to their attention.
right.
And the moment they get complaints about you, they immediately, without any questions asked, take it down. And then it's up to you
Mhm.
to appeal. I just got one taken down last week. I appealed it, they put it back up.
Oh, good.
I get most of my appeals always win, and they're very rare,
Yeah, mine too.
but see what's happening here isn't about TikTok choosing to be Republican or Democrat. It's about organized Trumplafucks attacking somebody to take them down.
Yeah,
And
that's
then,
true.
then of course, TikTok or whatever platform has to address it, and then it's up to you to appeal. And if you do appeal, you'll probably get put back up. It's not TikTok taking you down. Well, it is them taking you down, but it's the Trumplafucks that are manipulating the system,
Right, exactly.
and that's why I blocked all of them, because I figured, people would say to me, "Well, what good is it to preach to the choir and not try to teach them something?" I go, "I can't teach them fucking anything. They don't learn.
No.
They don't listen." And as far
Mm-mm.
as preaching to the choir, you got to understand the point of why I do the Rational Boomer podcast and the Rational Boomer TikToks. It's not to go head to head with them. I will if they want to, but they're afraid, so they don't. But the point is to be a rallying point for people like us to give us some
Yeah,
power as a group. Uh,
right,
all too often people of our age would sit back and go, "Oh, nothing I can do about it now. I'm too
right.
old. I can't do anything." But if you got one loudmouth motherfucker like me talking about it, then maybe people go, "Yeah, I'm on board with that shit." And then we can get some power and a voice and all that stuff. I'm not trying to teach Trumplefucks anything because
No,
they're learning disabled.
no. In fact, I think you're rubbing off on me because I'm getting braver and more. I mean, I'm as sarcastic as hell, and I can be funny, but oh, I was in rare form today. I got 100 new followers today.
Wow, great.
Yeah, on Threads. I was so happy.
Well,
I like Threads because the algorithm keeps us separated from Mega.
right.
I see absolutely no Mega propaganda whatsoever on Threads. Nothing ever.
I like Threads. I haven't been too excited by Threads. I post some stuff on there. Um, I like seeing a certain amount of action as far as reaching people. And
Yeah.
I post stuff on there, and I'll get, I don't know how many views, but a few likes here and there, maybe a question. It's pretty low key. But if I'm on Facebook or Instagram or TikTok, it just goes crazy. And as far as I'm
Yeah.
concerned, if I'm on all those platforms, I'm fine with that. I don't
Yeah,
really.
you're on plenty. Yeah. In fact, I don't even listen to the podcast anymore because I watch them.
Well, that was the weird thing. People suggested that I should do the video podcast, and I'm going, what the fuck for? I mean, I don't understand the draw to it because, yeah, it has my face on it. You would think that would be a drawback. I mean, you could see my face on TikTok.
No, for me, it's because I'm hard of hearing. I see your face and it helps me. What I don't hear very well, I can see by your face
Oh,
what you're talking about in your expressions. Yeah.
and so for those at home, just understand this. By doing these video podcasts, I've essentially healed Lisa's hearing problem. So send your money to my Venmo, and I'll heal you too. I'm kidding, of course.
You're hilarious. Oh my
But
goodness.
so we're at Wednesday now. We're recording this Tuesday night, but we're at Wednesday now. A lot has happened up to this point. We've got Meadows and Trump and everybody freaking out and stuff. Donald Trump, as much as said, he's not going to stop ranting or raving. Do you think we're going to see something at this point, at least from Judge Chutkin, uh, to
I
rein
was
him in and
actually
spank his
shocked
bottom?
that I was shocked she didn't do it already
Yeah, I
after
am
what
too.
he said about her. She's just giving him enough rope to hang himself. She wants this trial because she came out this weekend. Was it Monday or this weekend? She came out and said, "Look, you know what? I am not going to give you a gag order. You're a big boy.
Yeah.
If you don't want to stop running your mouth, I am going to set this trial to the earliest date possible."
You would think that would slow him down and shut him up, but not Donald Trump.
Mm-mm.
I mean, it
No,
goes
he
it
has
goes
been
back to
on a
the
rampage.
and it's going to get worse as things tighten. And it
Oh,
goes
yes.
back to the bullying thing, as I said. The only thing he's got, the only arrow in his quiver is to get louder, more bombastic, and more threatening. That's all he's got because he's got nothing to argue the cases about. So it's
Right.
going to get louder and more crazy.
Right. And in fact, I just remembered his attorneys and a couple of his aides um, went on this morning and said he's not going to stop ranting and raving. He said that's his freedom of speech and that's his right. Now, two of his aides and his attorneys both said that.
If I was his attorney, I'd be a little concerned because I think Judge
Mhm.
Chutkin very specifically said it's not only Donald Trump's responsibility to make sure he
It's
keeps his mouth
yours.
shut, but it's the lawyers too. And the lawyers
Right.
could get sanctioned, disbarred, fined, whatever the fuck it
Yes,
is.
they can.
I mean, if you're willing to risk your career over Donald Trump, you're a dumb motherfucker. I got to tell you, at least after all this and what's happened, a lot of people's lives have been ruined. A lot of careers have been destroyed already by Donald Trump in the last 6 years.
Hmm. Yeah. Oh, I just remembered something. Republicans are running out of money in every state except Arizona.
Except Arizona?
The Republican Party is bleeding cash in Arizona, but everywhere else they are in negative cash flow.
Right.
Ohio, Michigan, oh shoot, I'm sorry, hon, I can't remember. There was several states that are actually in negative. They're having to borrow from other states.
And we know it's happening to Donald Trump too. He spent 40 million on legal fees, all this money collected for his campaign. He spent 40 million on legal fees. He tried to claw back 60 million from another PAC, which was all sent to him for his campaign. This,
Right.
this guy's fucking struggling. I mean, Donald Trump's got a lot of things working against him. First of all, he's guilty. Second of all, he's going to probably get sanctioned somehow by one court or another, and he's running out of money. I mean, that's why I always say everybody's worried about him winning the presidency. If he had nothing else going on, just running out of money kind of slows you down from winning any election.
Yeah, that's true. Um, uh, oh, my train of thought just went without me again. I hate that.
That's all right.
Anyway, um, what was I going to say? Oh, he had to ask. Make America Great Again pact to put out an ad against Joe Biden. Have you seen this ad?
No.
It's despicable. I mean, it's just, I can't believe they wasted the money. It's so ridiculous. How Biden's a crime family and he's destroying the country and he's taken the country to hell, and Hunter Biden is, a criminal and nobody's prosecuting him, and it just Make America Pact put out this ad just totally to trash Biden.
It's actually embarrassing after all
It
this
is.
time. They've been trying to get Hunter Biden for 5 years, even
I,
during the Donald Trump administration. They have found zero,
I
fucking
know.
zero. I mean, you would think if a guy has been president for 2.5 years like Biden, you'd be able to find some dirt on him, even something really, really minor.
Oh,
You'd be able to find
yeah.
some dirt. But instead, they got to go back 5 years to something that was already cleared by the Trump
Mhm.
administration. Wow,
Yeah.
that's
I
fucking
mean,
desperate.
um, the special prosecutor for Hunter Biden said the case is going to go to trial.
And I'm
Can you
fine with
believe
that.
that?
Well,
Huh?
well, I'm fine with that. I don't, I wouldn't doubt Biden, Hunter Biden maybe got some special treatment. Let's be honest, when he was a drug addict, he
Yeah.
was a piece of shit. He was a fuck up.
Mm-hmm.
He did some
Yeah.
fucked up things. Maybe he did some things illegal. But if they go to court and he gets tried and he gets convicted, okay, I don't care. I'm
Yeah.
not
I
I'm
don't
not
either.
worried about the Biden family. I'm worried about America. And as long as
Yeah.
America's okay, they can all go to fucking jail as far as I'm concerned.
Yeah, but here's the thing, Mike. I mean, Hunter is not in politics.
No,
Yes, he was a drug addict. We all know somebody in our family or friends who has an issue with drugs.
yeah.
Um, you do stupid things, you do things you normally wouldn't do. Um, and he's not in politics. The charges he's being charged with, no other person would see a courtroom.
Right, right. Well, the thing about it is, unless they can make a connection between Hunter and Joe Biden, Hunter Biden's irrelevant in terms of the United States and this government. He's just another guy that got caught up in some crimes. I made a
Hmm.
point on one of my TikToks and maybe on the podcast too, just kind of an argument against how Hunter and Joe were in cahoots in terms of some kind of grift. Joe Biden has been in Congress for 50 years. He was the vice president and he's now the president. Does he really need his drug addicted son to go grift money for him? I think Joe can handle it
Absolutely.
himself. If Lauren Boebert and Marjorie Taylor Greene can become millionaires, I think Joe Biden can handle it himself.
Exactly. And how come Joe hasn't made gazillions and he's been in politics for a million years? He is not getting rich off being in the government. And that's one thing I do respect about him. I don't see him making money off his positions in politics.
No, I think it's clear that Hunter tried to use the name to make money,
He did.
but but then I would say, who didn't? I mean, almost every president I saw a story about it. Bill Clinton had his brother, whatever the hell his name was, trying to make money. Jimmy Carter had Billy
Yeah, his
Carter trying to make
Billy
money.
Carter.
They all have a certain amount of nepotism and they all have some people that are trying to grift off
Absolutely.
their famous
Hmm.
relative's name. Not to say that's good, but there's just absolutely no proof of that happening with Joe Biden. I don't know why they
I
keep.
know, but do you see the hypocrisy of this? Trump and his corrupt children made billions
Yeah.
while they were in the White House. Trump made money off China, Saudi Arabia, the Emirates. I mean, Jared Kushner got $2 billion. Ivanka Trump got over 600 million. How can they turn around and accuse Joe Biden of being a crime family?
Well, and it's interesting that Jamie Raskin is now going to
Oh,
combat against that.
I forgot. He's
He's
doing
going
that
to
report.
He's going to come out with a report listing all the monies made by the Trump family from foreign countries in the time they were in office. And that, I mean,
Absolutely.
I think we know about a lot of them, but to put them
Yeah.
all on paper and publish them, that it's going to be hard pressed for some of the right side media or the Trumplafucks to deny this because it happened.
That's right. Yeah. Yeah.
And I'm willing to bet, especially with Jared Kushner, I'm guessing there's some investigations going in with that.
Oh, big time. Yeah, yes, there is. Yeah, there is. Yeah, they are investigating it.
And Jared Kushner will end up just like his father in fucking
Yep.
jail for.
Yeah, his dad was in prison. Didn't Trump pardon him?
He did.
His dad, yeah. Jared learned from the best, his father-in-law and his father. So, the guy has no hedge fund experience. The
Well,
crown prince actually came out and said, oh, I have Jared in my pocket.
right. I I watched something that one of my mutuals, and everybody knows him, Hawk.
Hawk. Oh, I love Hawk.
Yeah, Hawk was on it, and he was talking about the monies that Jared Kushner is supposed to be managing, and
I saw that.
we know about 2 billion, and from what Hawk said, there's more like 3.1 or 3.2 billion coming from
Yes.
different places. And Hawk made an interesting point. I like listening to Hawk because I'm more a big picture guy, kind of analyzing what it is and the psychological part of it. But he knows the numbers. He's a lawyer, and he
Yeah.
was talking to somebody, or he'd heard from somebody who was an expert that handled hedge funds, and this guy with the hedge fund said that it would be unusual for any one investor in a hedge fund to have more than 10% of the total. Saudi Arabia has 2/3 of the total. That makes it a little fishy, and probably
Yep.
why there's currently an investigation into it.
Yeah. He's getting 1.25% on that 3.3 million, Hawk said. And that equals out to be approximately 40 million a year
40 million a year. Isn't
on
that
money
interesting?
that doesn't belong to him.
It doesn't belong to him, and they're just handing him 40 million a year to do nothing because
Oh
he's not
no,
a hedge
he
fund
did
guy.
something. No, he's not. And he gave supposedly, and I'm hearing this more and more and more because supposedly the crown prince admitted it, that he gave him a kill list.
Really?
Yeah,
Wow.
he gave the crown prince a kill list, and that's how he got the 2 billion. And that's why the crown prince says Jared is in my pocket.
Well, and the thing about it is that the things that Jared Kushner did, and probably Ivanka Trump did, and some of these other
Mm,
people, is also crimes against this country. That's why I'd be
yep.
surprised, somebody like Jack Smith or Merrick Garland or whoever is going to focus on the big deals right now. But, with Donald Trump, his trials and all this stuff going on, some of it will end before the election, some of it will end after the election. But this is something we're going to be dealing with probably for the next 3 or 4 years of
Oh,
different
I think
types of
longer.
trials. Not just Donald Trump, but all the other people
Right.
involved.
All of it, everything. By the time they get everybody convicted and with everything in the whole picture, I think it'll take longer than 5 years because this has went on for 4 years when he was president,
Right.
and now this whole time, and you've got all these different people and all these different webs and of crimes going in different directions. I think it's going to take us 4 to 5 years to get through all this.
Well, when Jack Smith put out his first indictment regarding January 6th, and he only indicted Donald Trump, he did that to streamline that
Right.
particular case because that one case is time sensitive. But if we're talking about members of Congress or some of the other parts of the administration, timing isn't important. So
Right.
he'll get this set up for Donald Trump to be tried before the election. And then he'll start
Mhm.
sending out indictments for the other ones, and he won't care when they start. It'll just be one right after the other, and
That's
it'll
what's
never
gonna
stop for
happen.
4 years.
Right. I think you're right. I absolutely believe that. I think because I think these judges are, except Aileen Cannon, I think she's going to be gone. I think Jack Smith is going to have her kicked off, because of this last order she did. But I, 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 I think the judges are tired of his rhetoric and want to keep the integrity and the safety of the witnesses and jurors. They want to get it done quickly and before the election.
I
I
wonder if
think if he would have kept his mouth shut and just went with the system, he could have probably got him put after the election, but no way now.
put it this way, if Donald Trump had the ability to keep his mouth shut, he wouldn't be in trouble now at all.
Yeah,
He'd just be
exactly.
able to go off into retirement and live his life the way he's lived it. But this dumb motherfucker cannot shut up. And if the judges think they're going to shut him out by giving him reprimands, it's not going to happen. They're going to have to put him in jail. I just wonder if there's going to be a fight for which judge gets to put him in jail, because you're going to have Fonnie Willis, the judge down there. You're going to have Jack Smith and Judge Chutkin. And if we get a decent judge in Florida, they're all going to be doing the same things. They can't
Yeah.
continue to be embarrassed by reprimanding this guy and having him just being incorrigible and not listening. Somebody has to do
Mhm.
something. And we
Yeah,
know that's true because, like you said, the lawyers said as much. Until they do something to him, he's going to keep talking.
yeah, yeah. His own lawyer said that. So there you go. And his aides, two of his aides. So I'm just shocked that Judge Chutkin hasn't nailed him yet. I really am, because she came out so strong, in the beginning, and I thought, oh, good, she's gonna just keep a handle on him. This is gonna be good. She's not doing anything.
Well,
She's,
here's something to
I
think
get
about.
it. Yeah, go ahead.
Here's something to think about. When's the next get together? August
28.
28th. Okay. August
Yes.
28th. And she's going to set the date for the trial at that point.
Yes. Oh,
So
yeah.
maybe she's just laying low and say, you know what, Jack wants January. Let's go with December. That may be the come to Jesus moment. That may be the reprimand part that Donnie Trump, you
That
fucked
would be
around and you
beautiful.
found out. I made this promise. Now you're starting a month early. You're starting in 2023. You'll be done in 6 to 8 weeks. So by February, you're in fucking jail. I wouldn't be surprised if she did that. The idea of putting him, and then if he doesn't shut up after that, then she'll put him in prison. I just have a feeling
Yeah.
that's how it's going to go.
Yeah. I think you're right. I just don't think he feels he's above the law. He doesn't have to listen to anybody.
Yeah.
So her telling him, and she's a black woman to boot.
Oh, he
So
hates that.
that's, oh, he hates that. Yeah. Um, so he's not going to listen to her.
No, he's not, and
No.
it's gonna cost him.
Mm-mm.
She won't fuck around. Fonnie Willis isn't gonna fuck around. I'm waiting to
Oh
see.
no.
See, the thing is with Fonnie Willis, he doesn't have an order of protection there yet, but he will once he's
Right.
arraigned. Once he's arraigned and then they set the pretrial hearings and stuff, that's when they can get the order of protection. I don't think they can get it until they have a judge and the arraignment. But the problem, he seems to think he can go after Fonnie Willis and some of the witnesses there. But unfortunately, Fonnie Willis's case and Jack Smith's case overlap. You might have some of the same witnesses. And even though
Right.
you're talking shit about Georgia, you're still talking intimidating a witness that Jack Smith may have. That still
Right.
puts him in a bad situation.
Well, and that's true. And Georgia has, I found out today, some of the strictest witness tampering and election laws in the country.
Yeah,
So, yes, he literally told the lieutenant governor not to testify.
right,
Did you
right.
see that? Yeah. I
Yeah,
mean,
that's pretty.
witness intimidation.
That's pretty. That's pretty flagrant. I mean,
Yeah.
you can't, he's not even hitting around with witness tampering. He's just flat out doing it in front of everybody.
Exactly. Exactly. And so how can Fonnie Willis and this judge in this case not remand him just for that?
Well, and again, like we were talking about earlier, um, that may happen from the get-go because of
I
how
hope.
Georgia deals with that situation. It's not about, oh, you get 9 chances. It's about prove to us you're not going to be an asshole and then not be an
Yes.
asshole or you're going to jail.
Yeah, they have very strict laws. They have some of the strictest laws in the country when it comes to election laws and witness tampering. And Georgia is very strict. They are more strict than the federal government.
Yeah, absolutely. So I think between now and Friday, we're going to be in for some interesting shit. Of course, we'll talk more about it here on the Rational Boomer podcast and on TikTok. I want to thank you, Lisa, for coming on. You saved my life because it's tough. It's tough enough just doing the show yourself and trying to be as up to date with everything. But when you have limitations, technically, it makes it even more difficult. So I appreciate the heck out of you coming on the show tonight.
Oh, no problem, Mike. I appreciate you having me, and I totally enjoy coming on. I'm sorry I waited so long.
No, 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 it's no problem. I should say that yesterday, or the day of the indictment, we saw that list come out inadvertently or early,
Yeah,
and you were pretty excited about it. You said, "Oh, the indictments are coming," and anybody saw that would say the same thing. And then it was
right.
taken down, and it was questionable. You said you wanted to go on. But what did you say? Because you felt spicy and something else.
Brave.
Spicy and brave. That's right. And then when it is shook out and they actually did send the indictments out, that I said, hey, it actually is happening. You want to come on? And what'd you tell me?
I popped my champagne. I don't normally drink, but I bought this bottle of champagne 10 months ago for this occasion, and I popped it last night. I had a glass and a half, and I was out. I was totally out. So yeah,
Yeah.
I didn't even get your email.
Lisa was a glass and a half deep in champagne and she couldn't stay awake. Now, had you stayed awake, that might have made for a very good show. A little loopy Lisa.
No. Yeah, it would have been Nippy Lisa, all right.
Well, Lisa, of course, you know by now that you're welcome anytime. All you have to do is email me
Thank
and
you.
we'll get it set up. And I'm excited now that I wasn't sure if I was going to be able to pull this off in a remote situation where I'd have a guest on. I was
Yeah.
worried about a few things and now that we've done it, fuck, let the dam break. We can talk to anybody, whether we're here or at home. So
There
I'm
you
feeling pretty good
go. It
about
looks
that.
great.
Yeah.
Good, good. I'm glad. I'm glad it worked out.
So if any of you uh want to be on the show, as I've said many times, all you have to do is email me at rationalboomer@gmail.com. Tell me you want to come on. We'll set it up and figure out a day and we'll get it done. We'll get it done. And it's easy, right, Lisa?
It's very easy and it's so much fun.
Perfect. Perfect. All right, Lisa, thank you for coming on the show. The folks at home, I appreciate you taking the time out of your day to listen. I hope you have a great day and we'll talk to you again tomorrow.